back to GB News. Very good morning to you. Let's just run you through the front pages of the newspapers to get you up to date on the stories making the headlines today. The Mail leads on the triple crisis facing the Prime Minister. The combination of strikes, the NHS backlog and the small boats dilemma threaten the government.
Here's the Mirror is looking specifically at the NHS, with staff describing waiting times this winter as the worst on record.
The Eye has a survey which reveals Tory voters blame the government for the hospital's crisis.
And The Guardian leads on the fury at ministers' plans for a real terms pay cut for NHS workers.
And The Telegraph covers Rishi Sunak's decision to shelve Liz Truss's childcare reforms.
So we will delve inside your Bank Holiday Monday papers with Claire Pearsall and Christopher Biggins. Welcome back to both of you. Let's have a look, shall we, Claire, first of all, at the Eye. Really interesting story about youth homelessness and, well, an alarming picture it paints, frankly.
It certainly does, and I thought this was actually quite an uplifting story. It told a young lady who moved away at 20, became pregnant, and struggled severely to be away from her family, had no support, but remembered that there was an Aberdeen-based charity who helped her as she moved back to Scotland. She has got her life back in gear. And I think it really does show that young people who don't have the support of their families really struggle with things like mental health, learning how to open a bank account, how to apply for a job, what they need for a job, clothes, bus fare, train fare, all of those things that I think sometimes we take for granted. And this particular charity to end youth homelessness, called Foyer Families, has that kind of whole approach. So it's not just looking for accommodation, but it's actually looking then to support that young person in their accommodation so that they have the real basic skills that they need, not just a roof over their head, but the ongoing support as to how to budget, what to do in an emergency. And it's all of those things that I think that we forget how to support young people. Yeah. They really do need that help.
And you're right, it is really heartwarming to see that the support is out there. I suppose what I meant by alarming is the fact that these shelters are full every night, that there is such a high demand.
Absolutely, and some of that is going to be to family breakdowns, and this time of year is one of those where there is always pressure on homeless services, but mental health problems as well as that. And it is frightening that these young people, some of them will get turned away and they're going to have to find space elsewhere. So we really need to get a handle on why these things are happening and what support we can do, because shelters at this time of year really are struggling, so we do need to look at
I don't know if it's just perception, but it feels to me as though you see more homelessness now than, well, and certainly in recent years, to me.
Well, I think
we just got used to not seeing it during COVID because they did such a good job, didn't they?
I know, but I think it's there because there is no money with a lot of people. I mean, you know, with heating and electricity, everything, you know, it's just a terrifying time. And the food banks are full, you know, and people wanting to have, and the weather, you know, it's a very bad time of year, I think, for all of that. And
and for people who live on the edge of financial problems, it could be just one bad move or one missed paycheck, or you know, people are never far away from losing their livelihood and losing their homes.
I think it's what we were talking about earlier too. Universities, you know, it's good that they get this training to, you know, find out about the bills and things and how to live their lives.
Right, and Christmas brings that subject into sharp focus, as you were saying, Claire. I mean, that is absolutely the case. Let's move on to stay in Scotland actually. Pandas being sent home, Biggins, in the Telegraph.
I know they're going back to China because they failed to produce any baby pandas.
Oh.
But did I say pandas? Pandas, baby pandas. It's a great shame, but they have. What is it about pandas, I wonder? Because they do evoke a lot of emotion. I mean, everybody adores them.
It's the teddy bear look.
I suppose it must be the teddy bear look, yes. And they are one of the most fantastic ambassadors for people falling back in love with nature, it says, which I think is true. But
they're the symbol for the World Wildlife Fund.
They are. You're absolutely right.
They are symbolic, literally.
But I wonder if they'll be allowed back into China with all their restrictions that are going on at the moment.
But
they'll have to wait.
Opening the borders.
Exactly.
Just a few days' time.
Yeah.
I mean, pandas, they do attract people to go and see them. Clearly they need to breed, but they haven't managed to do that. Perhaps this is connected to the dating story we did earlier, Isabel. People give up dating in December, but they try and pick it up again sometime in January, but apparently not these two.
Not the pandas.
No, not at all. Claire, what have you got for us next? Also in the Telegraph, this is shoe polish sales plummeting. This is people wearing fewer suits or working from home?
Yeah, I think that formal shoes are on the way out, and the sales of shoe polish have declined. I think you walk around now and you see that. We were just having that conversation about people on the train wearing a suit, pair of trainers or a pair of fluffy boots or whatever else it is. So we're losing that ability to go out there in shiny shoes. And part of me thinks that this is a real downfall, and I don't want to see that disappear. And there are so many times that you need to look smart if you're going to a wedding or a funeral or a job interview, and you need to have a kind of turned out appearance. And I think we are losing that. It just worries me that it will continue. And as much as I support working from home and people being comfortable, it's still sort of part of our national identity, the shiny shoes, being well turned out, being well presented, that I think that we're going to lose that.
We're all getting a bit casual in our
We
appearance.
are.
When I think of my childhood, we had a box which had all the shoe polish kit in it.
Yes,
Smell it.
brushes,
Yes.
I know.
And I couldn't tell you where our shoe polish is kept in our house. And when my mother-in-law comes around, the first thing she does pretty much is polish my son's school shoes. I've never done it once.
You put the newspaper down, you try and keep those speckles of black off the carpet. Or
Looking at your shoes.
Brush.
Isn't it pretty smart?
Well,
I've got boots too, nice black boots.
polish.
Yes, yeah. I think I love the whole thing of polishing, but you're right, it's now, and also most fashionable shoes now are sort of self-cleaning almost. You know, you don't need that.
Or suede.
Or what?
Or suede.
Suede, yes, but you need another brush for suede, don't you?
Maybe.
The suede brush.
Yeah, there's an element of sloppiness about this, because you always hear dress for the job you want, not for the job you have.
Yes.
Which you should be perhaps dressing smarter, but there's an element of sloppiness about this that's slightly connected to wearing your pyjamas to do the school drop-off or go down to the supermarket.
It is, and you sort of think, you know, are we slipping back into that way? Are we all just going to turn out in a sort of grey leisure wear and soft slippers to carry on our lives? And I think that we may laugh about it, but it is really important, and the appearance is the one thing that people clock. And my former boss had already said to me before I started, the first thing he looked at were people's shoes as they came into the room. So I still always held that in mind, so that when I am turned out, I do wear a nicely polished pair of shoes. Mainly down to my son, who's learned to do that at school, whereas I'm really rubbish at it.
Yeah.
But we also do have a basket at home with brush.
Good, properly
absolutely, and a duster.
It feels good to get dressed up and look smart. You project a more positive.
Oh, I'm all for formal wear. I'm just not very good at polishing shoes.
Yeah.
I'm interested because in the theatre, when I was young, again, people would dress up to go to the theatre. Now, if you look around, you notice people come in any old clobber. Do you see that in Panto?
No, well, I mean, all the time. I mean, people don't dress up again. You know, and also first nights. I remember going to first nights where we used to wear black tie.
Yeah, lovely.
You know, which was lovely. It was a very special occasion. That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, you know, people turn up in extraordinary outfits if they're lucky.
Trainers and
Trainers.
and all
Yes,
sorts.
but don't you have to
Not
clean
just the cast.
Not just the cast, but don't you have to clean trainers? I'm not.
I shove my kids in the washing machine.
Yes.
Oh,
So
that's
they go
gosh,
to the
washing
wash,
machine.
yeah.
Yes, I've got Skechers. Or sorry, what are they?
They'll go in the washing
They'll go in the washing. That's right. We do put mine in the washing
So
machine.
then they don't ruin the drum of your
Oh,
machine.
good top tip.
What was that? I missed that
Heresy.
tip.
This is heresy to anyone with a
What
good
was
trainer
it?
collection.
Oh, sorry.
What's your
You
tip?
put them into a pillowcase.
Oh, what?
Try the
In
lace
with towels.
or in with towels, yeah, and it doesn't.
Oh, right. Oh, very good. I remember
There you
that.
go.
Doesn't damage
Top
the
tip.
drum.
Right, Chris, you're going to lower the tone now with Thor the Walrus, who's been putting on an X-rated solo show.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to lower the tone. I mean, I think, once again, with the pandas, we adore walruses. And this Thor, who has been nicknamed Thor, arrived in Scarborough to thousands of people in Scarborough going down to have a look at him. And he made such an impression that Scarborough cancelled the fireworks with fear of upsetting him. And I think that's really wonderful. He does look a wonderful creature. Look at those teeth. I mean, they're just gorgeous. I mean,
No, you saw them in the UK, if I'm honest.
What, a walrus? Oh, yes, I think they come visit, you know.
I mean, I don't want to get into a sticky situation here, but do you want to explain the X-rated show? How would one put that on if you're a walrus?
Well, I don't know really. I mean, I've got to be very careful here. It's coming up to 9 o'clock, and I don't want to
phrased
upset.
it very carefully, didn't they? They
Yeah.
said it was a solo sex act on the slipway.
Yeah.
And the paper are calling it celebrity big blubber.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Well,
normally
we all-
isn't a spectator sport.
We all do that though, don't we? If we're down in the.
Moving swiftly on, Biggins. We're not a panto now. Oh, let's get all cultural again now.
Yes.
Talk about the arts in 2023 because we wanted to talk about this last hour and we ran out of time.
Yes.
Some cracking films to look
And I tell you what is great about film somehow. I think we're now in a renaissance period where films are coming back in a huge way because we've got our 56 inches at home, some of us at the end of our bedrooms, where we can watch. But it's not like going to the cinema. I mean, the cinema is something completely different and it's just wonderful.
Do you still go to the cinema?
Oh, yeah, I love going to the cinema.
Just a posh one where you can have a sort of sofa and a recline. And
Well, I do like those, but
A full meal.
the trouble is, Claire and I were talking about the fact when we're at home watching television, we fall asleep because we're so comfortable sitting on our sofas and perhaps on our beds. By the way, do you all have televisions in your bedroom?
Unfortunately, so.
Oh, I love mine.
No, not until just before Christmas when my other half got ill. We put the TV in there and I think it's there to stay.
Yeah, good. You don't like
I
it,
had
Claire?
one for years.
No, we don't. The television is downstairs, and that's where it stays.
Yeah.
I don't need any other distractions.
Right. Won't go down
What
there.
films are we looking forward to? What films are we looking forward to?
Right, so Olivia Colman, once again a favourite actress of all of ours, is coming back in a film called Empire of Light, which is a heartfelt movie set in the 80s, directed by Sam Mendes, of course, who's a brilliant director. Then we've got Tar, a sensational hypnotic movie, stars Kate Blanchett, once again, great for women, all these films, as a fictional principal conductor of a major German orchestra, demanding passionate, mercurial and brilliant affairs. And I think I'm really looking forward to that. There's a wonderful Brendan Fraser film called The Whale.
This is up for some awards, I think.
Yes.
Some awards chat.
Absolutely.
We'll be discussing that later
He's
in the programme.
really coming to the fore there, and it's interesting enough. It's called The Whale, so you think perhaps it is about a whale, but it's not. It's about a man who has put on extreme weight, and it's all the story about how he becomes very depressive and conducts Zoom classes with his camera switched off, which is very interesting.
Very
and then, can I tell a few more? Yes, good.
Time, yeah.
Yes, well, then, and the other, this one I think we're all desperate to see is Barbie. I mean, I think it's going to be one, and I'm fascinated to see that Ryan Gosling is going to play the male.
Yeah, Ken.
Ken, yes, which I think is fascinating.
And Margot Robbie is Barbie.
Yes.
She's got a couple of big films out this year. She really is the #1 actress in Hollywood at the moment, isn't she? But
Isn't it good that actresses are coming to the fore, though, in films, which is brilliant.
I do love Margot Robbie as well.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, she's very...
Girl next door, but
I agree.
Is she?
No, I mean a hot girl next door. But what I mean is,
Not on my street.
no, she seems a bit of a legend. Is what I suppose I mean.
Yes.
She's not, away with the fairies.
Yeah, she's
but,
versatile.
Is this supposed to be for adults or for children, Barbie?
Oh, I think it's for both. Both? I can't speak slowly. I think it's for both. I mean, I certainly think it's going to have a great audience because I think I think the word is camp.
Okay.
Yeah, very camp movie.
Well, that's right up our street. Claire Pearsall, Christopher Biggins, I'd love to say, well, I wouldn't love to say, we would normally say that's it for today, but we've got another treat for
I know.
in an hour's time, so we look
Yes.
forward to that around 9:30.
Yes.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.